Всем добрый день, меня зовут Дарья Александровна, и сегодня у нас состоится вебинар на тему «Загадочные достопримечательности Лондона». Я буду проводить вебинары в ближайшие несколько недель, и сегодня у нас первый вебинар в этом семестре, в этой четверти, и наши вебинары будут продолжаться до апреля включительно. И я бы очень хотела знать, кто с нами сейчас находится в чате, кто будет активно работать, и поэтому я попрошу вас поставить плюсики в чат. К сожалению, я, наверное, не смогу их увидеть, но я с удовольствием почитаю все, что вы напишете, и я буду ждать ваших сообщений. And from now on, let's speak English, because it is an English webinar. And let's start with a small task. So here you can see a spidergram with the main word mystery in it. So think of some words that you can associate with the mystery. For example, when I think about a mystery, I remember the words like ghosts, detective, maybe secrets. Please write what you associate with these words. Which words are related to mystery? I'll give you 1 minute, and then we'll move on with the next task. I hope that you've written something and maybe you have a lot of ideas. What can I suggest? For example, you can write mysterious creatures, beasts, maybe to hide something. An adjective extraordinary, superstition, night, darkness, magic. All of these words are related to mystery. And now, let's move on to the next task. And here you can see a headline, Haunted London. So, today we are going to talk about Haunted London. London dates back to Roman times and has a long, often violent and tragic history. For this reason, it's believed by some to be one of the most haunted capital cities in the world. There are hundreds of stories of ghosts in old buildings, parks, streets, graveyards, and even theaters and tube stations. If you aren't too afraid, read on. I hope that you aren't afraid at all. And let's move on, but before we move on to the next task, do you know what graveyard means? Graveyard is a place where dead people are buried, and I hope that you know tube station. It is the same as an underground. And what place is called haunted? Haunted is a place where ghosts live, phantoms. So now let's move on. And today we are going to talk about two main haunted sites in London. The first one is the Tower of London. Maybe you've already heard something about it. And the second one is the Theatre Royal. What kind of ghosts do you think live there, in these places? I'll give you 1 minute to write your suggestions, to write your ideas in this chat, and think about what kind of people can be in these places, or it's better to say could be in these places. So, and now these places are haunted. So, ghosts of what people are there? I give you 1 minute to think. And what do you think about the Tower of London? My suggestion is that there live ghosts of famous people from history, from the history of Great Britain. And the Theatre Royal, in my opinion, there are ghosts of actors and actresses. Why not? Let's check. And here you can see a text about the Tower of London. And listen to me as I read it, and focus on new words. From medieval times to the early 20th century, the Tower of London has had a long, cruel history of imprisonment, trials, executions, and torture. It's no wonder then that of ghosts are a common occurrence here. One of the most frequently ghosts is the headless Anne Boleyn, the unlucky wife of Henry VIII, who was beheaded at the Tower in 1536. There are also the White Lady, whose perfume to fill the air surrounding the White Tower, and who was once spotted waving to a group of children visiting the opposite building. Stories of ghostly goings-on at the Tower of London are numerous and still occur today. Is it interesting? I think that it's a very interesting site to visit, maybe at night, and I would like to visit this famous site, the Tower of London once. And you see some new words here, right? What is cruel? Cruel is violent. We've already had this word, violent. And you see the word imprisonment. You can see the translation on the slide. Imprisonment is when a person is in prison. And the rest of the words you can see on the slide, so I won't focus a lot on them, and we'll move on to the next task. And I think that you already know what it is. This task is to choose the best answer for gaps 1, 2, and 3. Read the first sentence. It's no wonder then that views, sightings, pictures, or scenes of ghosts are a common occurrence here. Make your choice. Please write your choice into the chat And move on to the next gap. One of the most frequently ghosts, we can put viewed, watched, noticed, or seen. It's the headless Anne Boleyn, the unlucky wife of Henry VIII. One of the most frequently, make your choice and write it into the chat. And the third gap, there is also the white lady whose perfume says, said, is said, or is saying, to fill the air surrounding the White Tower. Make your choice as well and write your answer into the chat. I will be glad to read them after our lesson. And now I'll show you the answers, but I give you just 5 seconds more and we'll look at the answers. Are you ready? So, we have sightings in the first case. Why sightings? View is something that you can see from a window or a high place as a mountain. And picture is painting or photograph, so it's not what we need here. And scene is the appearance of a place and an impression that it gives. So it's not the right choice as well. And sighting is an occasion when you see something or someone, especially something that is rare, extraordinary, unusual, right? And something that is trying to hide from you. So we need that sightings of ghosts. And the second gap, one of the most frequently seen ghosts. Here is a case when we need the verb to see, because view is to look at something for a particular purpose. Watch implies a period of time. And to see something is to spot something. You didn't have an intention. And notice is to become aware of something. It has another idea. And what about the third gap? There is also the white lady whose perfume is said. It is an impersonal passive tense, and it is the only option which is correct, passive tense. So we need C here. Now let's move on. So I just wanted to give you some additional information about Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn, who they were. And Henry VIII was King of England from 1509 until his death in 1547. And he was the second monarch of the House of Tudor. He got married 6 times. Can you believe it? 6 times. And he was responsible for the separation of the Church of England from the Roman Catholic Church. And he ruled with absolute power. And who was Anne Boleyn? She was his wife, his second wife. and she failed to give him a male heir. It means that she did not give birth to a male child. She had no son from Henry VIII, and that's why he wanted a new wife. He didn't want to be married with Anne Boleyn, and he arrested her and sent to the Tower of London, where she was tried. She had a trial, and eventually she was beheaded. So she was killed. That's why her spirit, her ghost, is in the Tower of London. And I wanted to show you a video, but we cannot watch it, unfortunately, because we don't have enough time, and there is a policy in YouTube, so we just cannot watch it. But I'll give you a link below our video, and just in order that you understand it, I wanted to give you some information, some words and useful phrases from this video. So it's about the Tower of London, obviously, and it will be said that William the Conqueror, who was the first Norman king in England, he built the Tower of London. The tower was originally a castle and royal residence for William the Conqueror, and its origin goes back to this monarch because he sought to control traffic on the Thames. And the fortifications have also served as an armory and home to the crown jewels. What is armory? Armory is all weapons and military equipment that a country owns. All guns, so it is all armory. And the crown jewels of England are a collection of royal ceremonial objects kept in the Tower of London. And there are several ravens in the Tower of London. They have clipped wings, and they are kept by the human raven master. The human raven master is a person who takes care of the ravens of the Tower of London. And who is a raven? Raven is a bird. How do you call this bird? Can you give me a Russian translation in this chat? Can you please write what is Russian for raven? I'll give you 1 second, and I'll give you the translation. So, raven – это не ворона, это ворон. Raven is ворон. So, they are black birds, like in this picture. And look, the human raven master, he has a picture of raven on his garments, on his clothes, on his jacket, you can say. And it is the video that you can watch, but you'll do it without me, unfortunately. And the link for this video, you can see it in the left corner, and I'll add it below the video down here too. And your question is, what is the legend about the Tower Ravens? I won't give you an answer right now, but you'll see a slide, but don't read it. Promise me not to read it. The legend about the Tower Ravens. You'll watch it at home. So you had a second to see this slide, and when you review this video, when you rewatch it, you can stop and read it. So just in case. So, and the next text is about the Theatre Royal, or Drury Lane. The theatre first its curtains to the public in 1663, and is therefore London's oldest working theatre. Many phantoms supposedly make their presence felt during the performances here. Some say that Joseph Grimaldi, a mischievous clown who died in 1837, often kicks actors with a leg, right? Ushers and cleaners from behind as they work. Another clown, Dan Leno, who was famous his clog dance, can sometimes practicing his routine over and over again. The theatre's most famous ghost, however, is the man in grey, who only appears at the beginning of a successful performance. Unlike most ghosts, he doesn't make people freeze in terror and is seen as a welcome addition to the theatre. Would you like to visit the theatre in London? I think you should. Maybe you'll see the man in grey. If you go to a very successful performance, to a very successful play. And what is phantom? Phantom is a ghost. They are synonyms. Make presence felt is when you want another person to feel that you are in the room, right? And usher is a person who works at the theater. You can see the Russian translation in the slide. And clog dance, you can Google. It is a very interesting dance, a special one. So I recommend you to Google what clog dance is. And welcome addition is something that you are eager to see, something that makes you feel happy, and you would like to get it with when you visit the theater. You want to have a bonus. So welcome addition is a bonus. And now let's complete the gaps. The theater first uncovered, drew, opened, or unlocked. What do you think is the answer? Uncovered, drew, opened, or unlocked its curtains. Curtains. We have curtains on the windows, right? And when we wake up, we the curtains. And then gap number 5, another clown, Danny, who was famous of, for, see, or with his clock dance. Write your answers, your ideas into the chat. I'll read them, definitely. And you know that it is a phrase, to be famous, of, for, to, or with. And the last gap, so Danlino can sometimes is heard, be heard, or be hearing, practicing his routine over and over again. Write your ideas into the chat. It is a passive voice. Can, after a modal verb, which is can here. Can. And now I'll show you the answers. Now you can see the answers. The theater first opened its curtains. So when you wake up and you look out of the window to see the sun, you open the curtains. And Danlino, clown, was famous for his clock dance. So the phrase is to be famous for. And after a modal verb, can, we use be plus verb in the third form. Can be heard, practicing. And now let's move on. Your last task for today is to make collocations with the words which we've seen in this text, and they are successful, freeze, cruel, capital, common, and mischievous. So make collocations. You can do it on a piece of paper, but if it's more convenient to you, you can also write them into the chat. It will be a pleasure for me to read them. And look at the first phrase, city. What can we say? Successful city, maybe, but I would say something different. Choose. And occurrence. Do you remember there was a phrase in the text about the Tower of London that to see a ghost is occurrence there. Performance. Great performance. Good performance. The man in grey comes to a very performance. Long history. Very bad history, I guess. And in terror, there must be a verb and clown. So I give you just a few seconds and I'll show you the answers. And now you can see the answers on the slide. And by the way, what is mischievous? How do we translate it? Mischievous is озорной. So clown who makes a lot of jokes. And I think that you know capital city. Moscow is the capital city of Russia. Common is something that is usual. Successful it's very good, cruel, violent, and to freeze, to stop moving, to freeze in terror. A long, cruel history. And now, I've prepared one more video for you. It is a very interesting video about one of the abandoned stations in London. London has more than 40 abandoned stations, and you can go on excursion there, actually, and this station, Aldwych Station, is one of the stations that you can visit, and it is a video excursion inside this abandoned station. Abandoned means that it's not used anymore. People cannot get out on the station. And you can see the link. You can Google this video, and I'll write this link in the chat, and you'll be able to see it and enjoy it. It's very interesting. But London has more than 40 abandoned stations, remember. And you can make a small test after watching this video about the station. You need to mark true or false. And now you'll see the answers, but don't read them, please. Read them after you watch this video and after you do this test. And if you want, you can also make an additional reading exercise about, these are 4 texts about abandoned stations in London. There is a text about Aldwych Station as well. It is text number 3, and here is some extra information for you. I think that it's very interesting to read about all these stations, because they are very mysterious places. So if you want, please read. You will definitely enjoy it, I promise you. And if you want, you can also match numbers with the map, with the tube map. So you can look at the map of London, at the city map, and to explore. You can explore the city of London too. And these are answers. And if you have any questions, you can write them into the chat, and after our session, I will be able to answer them. Thank you for the webinar. It was a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.